Tramell Jones tears up Elite 11.
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back into another episode of Locked On Seminoles. I am your host, Brian Smith. Today's episode is another fun one for me, and I hope you like it just as much as I do. We're going to focus on Elite 11 quarterback play. Florida State commitment Tramell Jones Jr. gets the top honors at Oxford's big event, beat out some guys who are ranked higher, gets the invite to Elite 11 finals in Los Angeles. Hi, my name is Brian Smith. Again, this is Locked On Seminoles. Thank you for being with us. You can get this podcast wherever you get your pods for free and on YouTube, part of the awesome Locked On Network, your team each and every day. This podcast is brought to you by LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnCollege. Terms and conditions apply. First off, congrats to Tramell and his dad who followed him over there. Took him all the way from Jacksonville up to Memphis and got an Uber because they got screwed over on their car rental. Heard that story before. Brother, I've been there too. So this is the deal. Elite 11 is not easy. There are a lot of great players that go to it. They all want to get that ticket and punch it and go to LA for the trip, have a great time, and be considered one of the best quarterbacks in the country. But your ranking doesn't mean diddly. It's who performs, period. That's what it's about. Brian Stump and all the guys that do Elite 11 do a tremendous job. Their crew was great, and thank you to them. Once again, they handled the media situation really well, and it was a really well-run event. And Mr. Tramell Jones Jr., tip of the cap to you. You were prepared, you were steady from the start, and by about a quarter way through it, it was really obvious that you were the best performer on the day. So my objective from this point forward, we're going to get into film. I've got quite a bit of it. I'm going to explain Elite 11 just a little bit. Then I'm going to break down film, and then we're going to talk about why it's so important for Florida State, or really any program, to every single year get a quarterback that can make plays. You cannot miss a quarterback. I don't give a crap how many guys you get at running back, wide receiver, O-line, D-line, etc. If you're not good at quarterback, your chances of winning a national title are right here. Zero. -5 billion if you want. It doesn't matter. You're not winning one. You must have a quarterback every year because, like the people at Elite 11 were talking about all the way through the event as they coach these kids up, quarterback is hard. Tom Brady was a 6th-round pick, only started a little bit at Michigan. It took him forever. But once he figured it out, he figured it out. There are other guys like that too. Joe Montana was a 3rd-round pick. Dan Marino slid to almost outside the first round of the draft, although most people thought he was one of the top 3 or 4 players in the draft physically. Things happen, and then they take off. Like Marino's second year had one of the greatest years ever in the NFL. You just don't know how it's going to be because some people don't look at things the right way. Well, with Tramell, he's not been ranked very highly. Rivals is the only one that has him in the top 250, and I think they've got him at 155. And he had his comeuppance. A couple of things before I play the film, and I'll do it here in just a second. Number one, consistent throughout the performance, and it's a long day. It's like 4 hours or whatever it is that they're actually throwing. They run 40, do vertical, do a few events like that. Then they kind of warm up, and then it's just drills, a gazillion of them. 2, with that, it's about your ability to mentally process what they ask you to do. It starts slow, and as the day goes on and you're tired, they want you to be tired, irritated, agitated, blah, 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 frustrated, and then they put harder stuff on you. They want to see who reacts. The movement drills, the throwing against your body, to move it up in the pocket the way they ask you to do it. Your opinion is not relevant. It's the people running it. That's what you have to do. Tramell was the best at it out of everybody there. Good group of kids, and there were more quarterbacks there that were talented than what I really thought there would be. And I focused on 3, but some other guys played well too. Tramell, obviously, Deuce Knight, who's going to Notre Dame, and George McIntyre is going to Tennessee. The latter 2 were the higher-ranked kids, and they're both very talented, but Tramell, once again, was the player that came out of this number one. Deuce also got an invite to Elite 11 finals. McIntyre did not. So I'm going to share my screen, and I'm just going to talk through it as it plays. I took out the volume out of like 98%. I missed one or two clips, but it's just going to show throwing motion, some of the drills, some of the things they worked on. You can make your own judgments on the release points, but this is just fun. I'm not here to really get into anything beyond some basic stuff while the video is playing. After the video is done, it's only 5 minutes, I will talk about some other stuff. But really, this is about one main thing. I can't really explain it because it's passing a freaking football. I mean, you just have to, you got to be able to do it. You got to see it. To start out, this is just Tramell running the 40. Right after this, it's Deuce Knight running the 40. So there's a little bit of combine to it. This is Deuce. He's one of the freakiest kids I've ever seen athletically. He's 6'4.5", 200 pounds, and he wasn't playing quarterback. He played something else. He verted 42 or something like that. This is Tramell and Deuce warming up. Here in just a second, you'll see George McIntyre. This is something that they really focused on, though, at Elite 11 from the outset, and it's why I like this drill. It looks very simple, but this is something they want you to be able to do, and that's power through your hips, follow through, even if you're not, quote-unquote, lined up, because not every pass is going to be straight on the way you'd want it to be. As a matter of fact, at higher levels, it's just the opposite. So you're tested right from the beginning, even in warm-ups. Some of these kids, there's George McIntyre, 3'4'5". He's 6'6", 190 pounds. Tramell's just over 200 pounds, 6'1", somewhere in that range. I forgot to ask him what his exact weight was at Elite 11. George, again's going to Tennessee. Deuce going to Notre Dame. But there were a lot of strong-arm kids at the event. And it was really interesting to see them compete because everybody did the same thing. There was no hiding. Sometimes there were some airmail passes. Like that was a good pass from Deuce. But if you watch these throws here, like McIntyre, sometimes he elongated his throwing motion. Sometimes Deuce was a little bit out of rhythm. All of them, though, were good when they were on. Like, right, that's a great pass by Deuce there. But watch Tramell play after play really hit his target. And for those of you that are trying to listen to this on Spotify, etc., I can talk you through this, but there's no way around it. You need to watch the YouTube video to get this because it's all film. We're playing the film right now, and it's all the different reps, all these kids. And I just want you to get a chance to see what Elite 11's like and some of the things that go on. That's a great catch right there. As for watching the drills, this was one of my favorites. Bootleg against the grain for Deuce right there. Nice throw. Tramell, this is a little bit easier because he's rolling to his right, and he is a right-handed quarterback. That throw right there was reminiscent of everything on the day, though. He throws line drives and hits it. George was high a lot. His release point was a little bit off. Deuce had some moments like that as well and let a few fly. He's not as consistent, but he hasn't been trained near as much. Tramell's worked with 6 points quarterback training for a long time, and he's really accurate. George that's a nice ball there by George. But they make you go through these 2-3 times, get as many reps as possible, and try to pick on the fine-tuning moments where you're doing well or you're not. I really like Tramell's short and compact throwing motion. Some of these passes were just absolutely spot on, and some of the guys, and I didn't video them, were even better than like George, who didn't get invited to the finals. And it was just amazing because you never know on a given day somebody gets hot. Like early on, Tramell hit everything. He was just absolutely on fire. And some of these kids, like you see a couple guys going on, one on the left, one on the right. Tramell's over there on the left. It's interesting because they don't always get consistent with it, but a few of them, like Tramell, especially early, just hit everything. When they started doing some of these, there were a few off, like that one was a little high. This one for Deuce got a little bit better. He doesn't do these kind of drills really at his high school, and he got better and better. But this is a good sign. Tramell would try different angles, different throws. Sometimes he was off, but he would always come back with a good rep or at least get better. So like that throw right there, that's either going to be his guy or nobody. This throw for Deuce was about as good a throw as there was on the day. And this is why it's a great example of how you can get better in a single day too, man. These kids all competed, and they really got after it, even when they were trying to do things that they weren't really considering to be natural to them. Some of the drills, like with Deuce, he hadn't done before. George has been trained a bunch, especially like throws in the middle of the pocket or as he moved towards the line of scrimmage. He was tremendous, but he struggled outside the pocket where Deuce was just the opposite. He threw well outside the pocket, and then Tramell was the one that could do either. That's why he was the best player on the day. This is a footwork drill here. They're asking, I don't know, I don't have the volume on for it because I knew I was going to be talking over this, but they're telling him where to go and where to move and then when to throw. So it's not easy because you're trying to work through somebody else's voice. Deuce struggled on this one on the first round. Tramell was pretty good at it around the clock. He's done this a bunch of times. He was very comfortable and he was still hitting things. And there is the Elite 11 finals. And I'll tell you what, to be really honest with you, that was a lot of fun for me. Here in just a second, we're going to talk about what this means, why he won, and what's next for Tramell Jones and the Florida State football recruiting class, because there's a lot to go with this now. It's going to be easier to sell receivers, etc., with Tramell's performance. It's pretty awesome. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn just isn't another job board. It has millions of professionals that are working in it. You can link up with them through text messages and all of that because you get to know them eventually. But you can start with just a basic DM on LinkedIn, people you may went to high school or college with, as well as ask questions to those who've had success in the job field. For me, whether it's hiring somebody that's an intern or getting somebody to work with me with Locked On or whatever, there's an opportunity for any small business. Or if you wanted and you're trying to go bigger, you could do something as corporate as well. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnCollege. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnCollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. So what exactly does this mean for Florida State recruiting? Well, a few things. The big picture, and I'm just going to give a little foreclosure on what's coming. We're going to have an opportunity to talk about the recruiting classes overall, but recruiting in general, you have to start with your quarterback, getting it early. And they got Tramell, he's been committed a year or so to the Noles. This is going to help their class. It's good publicity. Myself and Ward only knows how many other people talking about him. All the people that had the opportunity to see it are going to know about it, and that includes other recruits. Good players want to play with other good players, especially if you got a quarterback in a class. Luke Cromahawk, he helped Florida State last year. Brock Glenn, he helped Florida State the year before. Getting Elite 11 quarterback year after year is not easy. Florida State has done that now 3 consecutive years, guys that were good enough to go to the Elite 11 finals. Here's the other part to it. Tramell's been committed that long, like Cromahawk was committed for quite a while. That's really cool. You're going to build relationships with other guys, obviously Jamie French for Tramell because he plays with him. But you're going to see these guys on these visits that are coming up. We're in April. Spring games coming up for the Noles. Then you're going to have the official visits, and then you're going to have decisions. Everybody's going to know who he is. Mike Norvell can sell it. Tokars can sell it. The entire staff, really. Excuse me, not just Florida State's offensive staff. This third year in a row, dude, that we've got a quarterback that matters. That's what they can sell to any recruit. It's fact. Here's the film to back it up. The film that I just put on the screen, it's no different for them that are out there watching it as recruits. They're going to notice it. It's going to help Florida State. What it also does, and I'm sure this will just break hearts all across Florida State's wonderful fan base, it's going to take recruits away from your rivals. Because I like to pick on him, it'll probably take players away from the Gators. Not that that's hard to do right now. Brandon Olson and the Locked On Gators, they need all the help they can get right now, but they're probably not going to do as well as they should. Even though they got Lagway last year, I don't see that happening again, considering what's coming for Florida. Additionally, this is a chance to go into the backyard because they've done a good job with this, going into Georgia, going into Alabama, going into South Carolina, going into Tennessee, going into Mississippi. I talked to Mario Nash Sr. today, just as an example. I called him. His son is one of the best offensive tackles in the country. He's from Mississippi. And it's a kid that's going to – I got the visit list over here. The date for Florida State's visit is when did we got? I don't think he's got the date yet, but He's going to be going to Florida State in June, I believe it is. And the bottom line, getting kids like this, seeing this film rotate around, it's going to help him. He's got offers, LSU, Ole Miss, Auburn, you name it, all across the SEC. Florida State's getting him on campus. I don't know what it is about Mississippi with Norvell and those guys, but they do a good job of getting kids on campus. And that's just another example of it. They're going to be able to sell this. I think it's a big part of what you're trying to do as a program, because as I'll talk about here in just a second, I'm going to use Jordan Travis as an example. You don't know who's going to hit. I sure wasn't right about Jordan Travis because I thought he was going to be a disaster after I saw him the first year or so, way too inconsistent and whatnot. But if you get guys every single year, even if you miss one, you can bat 50% and still really be in a good spot. Florida State's got 3 years in a row. They got a quarterback. They're going to be able to slowly wean themselves off the portal because of this. Have more development in the house where Florida State's at, not worrying about somebody else and what they did and take them out of the portal at the most critical position. Maybe I'm wrong, but I have a feeling that DJ will be the last transfer portal quarterback that's like, he's got to come in and start. He's got to be the guy. I think Cromahawk or Glenn will be the quarterback next year. It's possible they could go to the portal again, but it just depends on how those guys play and how they perform in practice this year. With that being said, again, I'm going to go through how important it is every single time to get one of these guys. But before I do, here's my last parting shot when it comes to Tramell. He was consistent, velocity. He could do the different throws. When he had a bad throw, he came back and made a good one. That's something they're looking at. Some kids go up and they do really well for a little bit. When something goes wrong, they fall off. He did not. And that's why he was the best quarterback on the day. And Deuce was, I don't know, the second one, maybe you could argue on other guys too, but his upside's just through the roof. I think Tramell is being way undersold. It's just my opinion. I'm curious to see if anybody moves him up in the rankings somewhere down the line. I don't know. There's a bunch of rankings updates that'll come over the next 6 months, but whatever. He's a good football player. He's got a chance to go to LA, and that'll be another chance to improve the rank as everybody goes out to that. I might go too. And if he does and he does well, he can end up being a top 100 player. Who knows? We'll see. Before I go to the next side, think about this, though. At what point, as a Florida State fan, did you completely, not sort of, or he has potential, blah, 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 did you buy in to Jordan Travis being an elite quarterback? Think about that for just a second, and let's talk about that because he's an example of why development at Florida State has been pretty darn good. So how good is Jordan Travis from his time that he transferred in? He spent 1 year at Louisville, came to Florida State. When did he kind of hit that moment? He wasn't an elite quarterback at any point in high school career. He was an athlete playing quarterback and learning the position a little bit like some other guys around college football that have done well. Lamar Jackson's kind of in that same mold. When was it? For me, it wasn't towards the end of 21. I'm picky. But if you look at the numbers and you look at Jordan Travis, 2020, he was 72 of 131, 55%. I'm like, This is 2020. And 6 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Not all that good. I know he can run, but you have to be able to sit in the pocket and make mental decisions that dictate the game. You're not getting over the top being a big-time program just with legs. 2021 had its moments, 122 of 194, much better passer percentage, 62.9%, 15 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. So he went up 9 touchdowns, didn't add another pick. 22 was the interesting year, except for the three losses in the middle of the season. They were really good. He hit his stride towards the end of 21, and then 22, he just took off. 226 of 353, 64%, 3,214 yards, 24 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. So he goes up in touchdowns again, actually went down in interceptions. And then this past year, even though he only played in 11 games, 27, 156 yards, 20 touchdowns, only 2 picks, 207 of 324, 63.9. He was about as complete a quarterback as you could be. And if you remember, Jordan didn't run as much in 2023. He figured it out from the pocket and did a little bit with rollouts and just scrambling when he could, that he just killed teams with his arm. Process. It is very, very slow. And that's why I bring up Tramell once again. You just got to have more bullets in your gun, man. It takes a long time. Jordan got thrown into the fire because they didn't have somebody else to play it, and he struggled because of it at times. He even told Norvell he wanted to move to receiver. He volunteered it. Norvell told him no. Obviously, it worked out, and now he's going to the National Football League. So I'm not saying Tramell is going to be the next Jordan Travis, Lamar Jackson, whatever, because he's not that athletic, and B, you don't know who's going to pan out. But this is going to be a situation where Florida State finally, it has been a minute, has finally been able to take good players year after year, and nobody's just going to be thrown into the fire. For the sake of argument, if you want to say the Noles take a transfer quarterback for the 2025 season, and I have no idea. I don't know what they're thinking. I would lean away from it, but that's just me. If they did, they would still have a junior, a sophomore, and a freshman that they all recruited. Then you could just pretty much be wherever you want. In 26, you certainly wouldn't need to unless somebody left, and you go from there. That's the nature of the beast, though. You're probably going to need a transfer at some point, even if it's just a backup, because kids are going to leave. But if you get a guy every year that's good like this, good as Tramell, good as Brock Glenn, as good as Luke Cromahawk, you should be in pretty good shape. Last point to think about here before I wrap up the show. Again, hats off to Tramell for winning the Elite 11 regional and getting to go to L.A., but this is a long process for most kids, even at the junior high level all the way through high school. It's not high school anymore. Tramell was training a long time. This didn't happen overnight where he knew the drills at Elite 11, etc. He knew what he was doing because he's been through a lot of them at 6 points. So don't give up on quarterbacks because they're all different and they develop at different speeds, different offenses. They relate to coaches totally differently. I think that Tony Tokar is a really good guy. He's easy to get along with. I met him before out on the recruiting trail when I saw him at Cromahawk's game last year. This is going to work out. Tramell and him will be a great fit, and it's 2 hours away. Like, this is about as good a fit. I think Tramell will stick it out, wait his turn to play, even if he's got to be a senior, fifth-year senior guy. I think Luke's an NFL player, quite possibly, but he's the class ahead of him. If that's the way it goes, so be it. But Florida State, when they were good, Dad Busby and all these different guys, Danny Cannell, a lot of them didn't play right away. If you remember back, Charlie Ward didn't even play and almost got benched at some points because he was throwing picks. He figured out his senior year and as a fifth-year senior. As a junior, he was all over the place. It's hard. Give them the time to figure it out, and if the kids give themselves the time to figure it out as well, meaning don't hit the portal, Florida State should be in really good shape moving forward. With that, I appreciate you all for listening. Give a big thumbs up if you would and share this podcast, and give a clap for Tramell for getting to go to Elite 11 finals in L.A. That's going to be in June. If I remember, I think it's the 18th through the 20th, and that's going to be a lot of fun. I might go out there. We'll see how it goes. Ticket prices aren't the cheapest at the moment, but I'll look into it. Anyway, everybody be great. Have a great night, and I will talk to you soon.